Good evening, everyone. Today, December 19, 2023, at 6 p.m., I call for order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Supervisor Aliaga.
Here.
Clerk Newbeck here. Treasurer Brown.
Here.
Trustee Morocco.
Here.
Trustee Nalamothu. Here. Trustee Ritchie.
Here.
And Trustee Tedder.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Board of Public Announcement. Any members of the board or individuals would like to announce? Sure.
I have one. I saw Carrie there too. We went into the Wreaths Across America at Lakeview Cemetery. And I want to congratulate Joette Kuntz for leading the charge to bring it here, and it was a great event, and I encourage more and more people to participate next year. It's really something to see, and congratulations to her. I think it's a great honor for those veterans in Lakeview to have that service presented to them with the wreaths for the holidays.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Trustee
I just
Morocco.
want to make a comment. Joette was hoping to get 50 wreaths, and they did 175. So she was, she really worked hard on that one. So I guess just wish everybody in the township a happy holidays.
Good. All right. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Public comment. Anyone in the audience that would like to address to the board for no more than 5 minutes? Anyone online? Okay. We don't have public hearing tonight. We don't have presentations of reports, so going to consent agenda. Number 1, request to approve the Board of Trustees regular minutes of December 5th, 2023. 2, request to approve the December 12th, 2023 check run, including the ACH of $1,100,462.14, and ratify the December 8, 2023 payroll of $309,052.09. Number 3, request to accept the ladder of engagement and compliance examination engagement ladder. 4, request to approve Brady Lodge rental and alcohol December 22, 2023. 5, request to approve the 2022 Community Development Block Grant CDBG public service contract with the City of Village of Clarkston. 6, request to approve the 2023 Budget Amendment 39, 2024 Sashara Regional Drain Budget. 7, request to appoint board and committee members, Safety Path Advisory Committee. 8, request to appoint board and committee members, Safety Path Advisory Committee. I need a motion for the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. All right, go to regular business. Okay. Rick, number 1.
Good evening. How's everyone doing tonight? Awesome. Tonight, this is the final process in the budget process for 2024's budget, and it's just the approval process. In front of you, you have the 2024 General Appropriations Act resolution, and that is what needs to be approved.
Okay. Any comments? Anyone?
I just
Trustee Morocco?
I just have this resolution. This is for this takes the budget into confirms the budget.
Yeah, you guys approved the budget, the numbers that we've already gone through, all the budgets over the last several meetings that we've gone through.
Okay. And does that include the amendments that are also later on the agenda?
Well, those amendments are for this year.
Okay.
This is simply
For
approving
the
next
20,
year's budget.
okay, Rick,
Yeah.
I just, thank you for the
Yeah.
clip.
No, that's
Okay, I'm
fine.
just,
There's also the rules, and, you know, if you read through the whole thing, it's also the rules on how we have to manage that budget as well
Okay.
are included in this resolution, so.
thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, anyone else? All right, I need a motion.
I'll move to adopt the 2024 General Appropriations Act resolution as presented.
Okay,
Second?
it's a roll call, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nope, you're fine.
Oh.
Second. Clerk Newbeck, yes. Treasurer Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Morocco?
Yes,
Trustee Nalmofu?
Yes.
Trustee Ritchie?
Yes.
Trustee Tedder?
Yes.
Supervisor Aliaga?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
I think I'm here for number 2 as
Yeah,
well.
number 2 as well, yes.
All right, this is budget amendment number 40, and there's various things here. They're year-end amendments. Basically went through all the operating statements and picked out the things that I felt were the most crucial to be amended at this point in the year. So there are some revenue items here which really don't need to be amended, but I always like to bring them up a little closer to what actual is, so that it's not such a big gap between actual and budget. So that's what the first several ones are here. The state revenue sharing for CVTRS, and for those who don't know what that is, it's county, village, township revenue sharing. And every time we budget for this every year, the state only gives us like half the year because they won't tell us that they're gonna actually give us the money in the second half of the year. So we only budget half. And once we understand that they are gonna be paying the second half, then we actually collect it, obviously, but this is the amendment to basically put the second half out there in the budget. Number 2 is a charge for services reinspection. This has to do with the expired permit project. This thing is running quite a bit over budget, so we're looking at a $63,000 amendment on this one. Interest income, running way over budget, and we're looking at a $50,000 amendment here. Market value adjustments, same thing, running quite a bit over budget, and in fact, we actually had it budgeted as a negative, but it's coming in as a positive. So this is actually a $195,000 amendment. Then we get into some legal charges, the next 3. Legal charges for 2023 ordinance prosecutions have exceeded the $100,000 budget, and a budget amendment will be needed to cover the $25,000 in additional charges. Regular legal is also running over budget and is projected to exceed the $100,000 budget by $10,000. So a $10,000 amendment is needed here. And then legal charges within the Human Resources Department have been over budget a good portion of the year due to various labor-related issues along with IWA contract changes. A budget amendment in the amount of $105,000 is recommended for this one. And then moving into the police, this has to do with the mini contracts that we have with DTE. It's actually running a lot higher than the $750 that we had put out there for the year. To the tune of another $150,000. So there's a lot of activity going on out at DTE. And that $150,000 impacts both revenues and expenditures, so there's no bottom line impact. It's just increasing both revenues and expenditures to accommodate the activity. And that is everything.
Clerk Newbeck?
Rick, does the legal charges include up to current? Because I know we're almost 6 months behind in paying the
It
Kelly
does.
firm, so
It
that
does.
is.
I have all the bills up through, I believe, October, maybe even November, and then we estimated high for December.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm pretty comfortable with the numbers, but I just don't, wish I had the actuals in my hand. I'd feel a lot more comfortable, so.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Trustee Morocco?
Rick, on the ordinance and prosecutions, what happened this year? Do you know, I don't know whose department that is, but do you know what happened this year that just got this budget so high?
I know that he was given a rate increase, so that's probably a part of it. Whether it's all of it or not, I don't know that for a fact. I'd have to come back and give you more of a good answer. But everything, when I've looked at it, all the charges are up this year. Why, I don't know.
Right.
The only thing I can relate it to is the increase that he was given at the beginning of 2023.
Right, I remember that he got it was a $5 an hour increase. Went from 110 to 115 in the next fiscal year. When I saw those bills, because they got bunched up, so it's a big number on this last bill here. On the the reason I'm asking that is because when we awarded that contract, there were several law firms that gave us an all-inclusive, not-to-exceed price for all ordinance and prosecution. And when I went back and looked at those contracts of the 8 companies that bid it, 3 companies had given us bids that it would not exceed 70, no, they were all 72,000 or less to do all prosecution and ordinance reviews guaranteed for the year. So if
Okay.
we're going over 100,000, I think that we need to, immediately revisit this contract before we do any more work by the hour, because it had appeared on the face, and I'm new to it, but, the hourly rate was considerably lower than the other attorneys, so it was certainly enticing to go with them. But then, in the fine print, other companies started just giving us and it was weird because it was only for ordinance and prosecution. So, which would tell me that they must have a ballpark idea of how much the average prosecution and ordinance costs if they're giving us a not-to-exceed price. Otherwise, that wouldn't be very good business for them. They would have stuck with an hourly rate, So, we're kind of on the hook now to pay this, not on the hook, because that was our agreement with the attorneys, but I don't know the process with the board. But I would suggest that because all of the contracts are able to be terminated or renegotiated without notice by us. We have to get 3 months' notice from them. But I don't know the process, but I think that we need to take and one of the reasons I'm saying this is that if we go with an all-inclusive, then we won't, then budget amendments won't be necessary for that line item any
Correct.
year because it's a locked-in number.
I would agree with that.
It was an expensive lesson to learn that there's that many hours being burned up. But I think we should take advantage of that, and I don't know what you would do to move on that, but.
I can also go back and try to figure out if there's anything that's actually driving that other than the price increase, but I can't do that at this moment, obviously.
Right. And even if he spent a lot more time on it, I'm not saying he didn't, because I've heard nothing but good things about that firm and what they do over there. The point is that if we know we can cap it at, I don't know what this year's rate would be, but say 75 grand, then we're not gonna get in this, we won't ever get in that situation again.
Yeah, I would prefer that, actually.
Well, that's what I thought,
Then
because
you
you
know
don't
how
like
much you're
budget
gonna spend.
amendments, so it seemed like, and they didn't offer that on general or the other ones, only on that one for some reason. I'm not familiar with the difference, but I just wanted to bring that to
Okay, that's a
your
good point.
attention, so, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, need a motion?
Move to approve the 2023 budget amendment number 40 as presented.
Okay,
Second.
okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
very
Rick. Good job, thanks. Chief Bichet?
Good evening, everybody. The fire department's looking to request to approve budget amendment number 41. The first one is, number one is charges for services, ALS. Revenue is expected to exceed the original budget amount by $400,000, which is a good thing. This additional revenue is due to an increased number of transports and improved EMS reporting and collections. Number two, pension expense. DC 401A, amendment of $45,000 due to new employees hired in 2023 enrolled in defined contribution 401A plan rather than the MERS defined benefit plan. Number three, the retiree health care, amendment of $4260 due to new employees hired in 2023 enrolled in healthcare savings plan rather than a retiree healthcare OPEB. So it's again a transfer of money from one account to the other. Contractual ALS, amendment of $21,000 for medical billing services due to the increase in emergency medical services revenue. So that's our billing company. The more runs we go on, the more we pay in billing service. So again, that's actually a good thing. And then building, ground and maintenance, an amendment of $22,000 for increased building expenses at fire stations 2 and number 3 over the course of the year. Questions?
Any questions, board members? No? Any the
Happy
motion?
to see
Oh.
the increase with the new ALS company.
Yeah, it's
with the- or the-
steadily, it just
the-
keeps going up, so
Yeah,
it is a good
great.
thing.
That was great that you brought that new company forward.
Yeah, the good building company,
Yeah,
so it's
that's
going
good.
really well.
Okay. You gonna make a motion?
I'll move to approve the 2023 budget amendment number 41 as presented.
Okay.
Second?
Okay, all those in favor?
Uh,
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Okay,
Thank you, Chief.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Merry
You
Christmas.
too. See you next year.
Okay, well, lastly, here, I'm presenting my recommendations for appointments for, actually several boards. We have the DDA, the Planning Commission, the Residential Open Space Advisory Committee, and the Zoning Board of Appeals. So,
I have one comment on one.
yeah, hold on. All right, yes, trustee Delamat.
I believe Heidi Warrington moved out of state.
Yeah, so we, as you know, we have been bringing everybody in apply, and some window of time, she applied several months ago, but we
Got it.
still have to bring, every application. But good
Okay.
observation, actually.
Did you reach out to her about her desire to be appointed?
No, but I am aware that she's out of town, and no Heidi Warren. But everyone else, most of the candidates, yes. The new ones that apply, I reach out, except for Mrs. Warrington and some other individual that didn't answer the phone. Everybody else, I talk to them on the phone, I ask them questions and all that.
Did you talk to the people that were the current, like on the planning commission? You're appointing 2 new people. Did you talk to the people that were on the planning
They
commission?
asking for reappointment?
Yes.
No, I did not. I was asking the new,
So after
The-
years of
the people.
service, you didn't even get a phone call to discuss with them, why they might or might not stay on the board?
no, I did not.
Seems a little unusual, don't you think?
I have a question, Mr. Morocco, for you. When you asked for a reappointment, did the supervisor call you, ask you if you want to stay in the board?
No.
No, okay, thank you.
Did you receive a call from the supervisor
No.
that you weren't being reappointed?
No.
No?
So it's not usual, so, just say.
Well, I think it's
Treasurer Brown.
unusual, but
Did you meet with Supervisor Fisher where he discussed with you having being on a different committee instead of that one?
He offered that that might be an option.
Right, so when he told you you weren't being reappointed, he offered you the other one. To say you didn't meet with him is false. I know you met with him, and it's not true that you didn't meet with him. Of course he met with you and told him you were
Well,
angry
he
about
didn't
it.
call me.
I have the floor, please.
Oh.
So you can play it any way you want. You spoke with Supervisor Fisher about not being reappointed because he offered you something else at the same time. And so I think it's terrible that people would give a decade of service to this community, ask to be reappointed, and not even get a phone call. It makes me sick. It really makes me sick.
Okay. All right. Yes, go ahead, Newbeck.
With all due respect to the planning commissioners that you brought forward for appointment, this is nothing to have to do with them. This is everything to have to do with the current people that sit on the board, Ms. Tully and Mr. Savadant. Especially Mr. Savadant being a chairperson. He was appointed in 14, he was reappointed in 17 and 20. He has been a chair from 2016 until now. He streamlined the meeting process in 2016 by amending the order of the agenda and the bylaws. He formalized the public hearing process in 16. He leads the subcommittees on the PC. And he's voted with the majority of almost 100% of the time. I believe the only disagreement that we could find was possibly on the MSU Credit Union. He desire to have the building closer to the road.
Mhm.
As I said, with all due respect, and it has nothing to do with the other two people that you have brought forward,
Sure.
I will not be voting in favor of that
Sure.
reappointment. I feel that Mr. Sabadat should be reappointed.
It's we cannot disclose our votes publicly, but
Well-
okay. I just
I
said that we
have.
cannot disclose our vote, how we're gonna vote, because that influence other members and all that, but okay.
Okay.
All right,
In a public forum, I can
Okay,
discuss this.
I guess I'd like to make sure I'm not breaking the law. Could the attorney weigh in on whether I can say whether I'm going to support this motion or not? Is that illegal for me to do that, sitting at the board table?
Well, the short answer is no, you're
Thank
in
you.
a public meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
okay. Okay. All right.
I believe we have
Sure, hold on.
Mr. Sabadat.
Yeah, we
Go
have
to the
people
public
online too.
first?
Yeah,
Good.
yeah,
Public.
all right, well, we're open to the public, sure. State your name and address, please.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Brent Savadent, 4560 Hillview Shores
Mhm.
Drive, Clarkston, Michigan 48348.
Mhm.
A couple things on my mind. This is an important issue to me. I'd like to speak to a few things. First of all, I know you probably all read my resume and my application, but I just want to hit some high points in terms of my qualifications for being on the Township Planning Commission. I've got a master's degree in planning from the School of Urban and Regional Planning, Queen's University, Kingston, Ontario. I've got 7 years' experience working for a multi-jurisdictional consulting firm out of Flint, Michigan. In 2002, I was hired by the City of Troy Planning Department. Started as a principal planner, was promoted to planning director. Now I'm the community development director. I oversee planning, building, code enforcement for a city of 87,000 people. In 21 and a half years, I've either processed or overseen the processing of every development application in a city of 87,000 people. I'm certified as a professional planner with the Canadian Institute of Planners, and I'm certified professional planner with the American Institute of Certified Planners in the United States. That's 2 countries. I'm an expert in planning and zoning. To the best of my knowledge, I'm the only AICP certified resident in the township. I am the most qualified resident in the township to serve on the Planning Commission. That's not opinion, that's fact. That's based on certification, education, and experience. It's irrefutable. I'm not disparaging any of the other candidates. There's value in having different ideas, different backgrounds. It makes for a better Planning Commission. But to take what I bring to the table to the Planning Commission, it's like I'm not speaking out of ego. I'm speaking out of concern as a resident for this township. It's like having a unicorn. 28 and a half years experience in my certifications and qualifications, willing to volunteer my time to do this for the betterment of the township. I would think that most municipalities would embrace it, lean into it, welcome me with open arms. And to get notified by a third party, not even a phone call from the supervisor, explaining what the rationale is, not even having a conversation, I think it's unacceptable, quite frankly. The most important board in the township is obviously the elected officials. The most important document for the township is the budget. The second most important board, by far, is the Planning Commission. They update and maintain the second most important document in the community, and that's the master plan. They process development applications, site plans, special use, plan unit developments, rezonings, text amendments. It is an incredibly important board. It's important to have a good board. I'm not disparaging. Again, I can't stress this enough. I respect people willing to volunteer. I'm not saying I'm better. I'm saying I bring a skill set that's different than other applicants, and it should be leaned into. And again, not out of ego, out of the betterment of this township. I care deeply about this township. I care deeply about having a planning commission that is here. I helped bring the planning commission here. We have an excellent planning commission. I'm one member of a team of 7. It's an excellent planning commission. I'm one cog in the wheel, but I'm an important cog in the wheel, and I'm just concerned. I think that it's important to get this right. For the Planning Commission, it's the first point of contact for developers. It's the first point of contact for residents who want to who want to engage with the community and want to speak at public hearings. You've got to create a professional environment through your planning commission to get things done, to conduct business and to listen to residents. Again, please don't mistake this as ego. I'm not here for ego. If I'm not reappointed, I'll find things to do Thursday nights once a month. Believe me. But I bring a lot of value to the table, and I think it's a critical mistake. I want to talk a little bit about volunteers, and I'm done. We've got the history with dealing with volunteers recently is a little bit upsetting to me. First of all, look, I'm a big boy. I've been in municipal government for a long time, so I know how this works. I'll get over it not getting a phone call, no problem. But Judy Tully served for over 10 years. She's not in municipal government. She deserved better. She deserved a phone call. As of Thursday night, she didn't have a phone call. I think the ship has sailed for reaching out to her and having a respectful conversation. But I think for people that served 10 years or so, there should be a proclamation. There should be a thank you for volunteering and for public service. We had a planning commissioner who was dragged through the mud for about 6 months because of where he lived, because he happened to buy a home in a different township. That's unacceptable. We've got a township board member who, if he disagrees with the planning commission member, goes on Facebook or writes letters to the editor. These are volunteers who don't deserve this. So we've got to raise the bar dealing with volunteers across the board. Not pointing a finger at anyone in particular, but we got to be better. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. This is important. Please don't mess this up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Salad. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone online that would like to? Okay. All right. So, all right. Anyone would like to make a motion?
Oh, it's still a comment.
Do you want to comment? Okay.
So I was on the planning commission for almost 20 years, and I pushed back a lot to try to get better development for our community. You can clearly see that the older developments in the community are better quality than the new developments in the community. It's obvious. You can look at the commercial buildings and see that they were nicer. The neighborhoods are nicer. The lots were bigger. I've told this story many times.
Please, if we, silence, please.
We went through a recession. I've been involved in the building of close to a couple hundred homes in this township. I remodel a lot of them. I know a lot of the people. We went through a recession, and the township got desperate for development. And with that, I saw the planning commission change. The people that are on there now, that Pat Kittle appointed, were people that were put there to promote and to spark development and to encourage development. Not to say good, bad, or indifferent, but that's why they were picked. That's why the people that were on there with me were replaced with those people that he felt would meet his needs to develop the community. Right now, the board consists of builders, developers, planners, who all, that's their field. Density, building, that's what they do. That's what they do for a day job. If you had a board full of preservationists and you said we want to do 50-foot wide lots, they would cringe. If you say you want to do 50-foot wide lots with guys who make a living getting townships to give them 50-foot wide lots, then it's no big deal. So it's a perception thing. It's a person thing. It's a mentality thing. So we had an open space committee where people from the county came. I was on the board. Jerry Fisher was on the board from the county Parks and Rec. Somebody from our county Parks and Rec was there, and we had a meeting. We had 50 people come, and it was a discussion of how the township could do better to get open space. We actually used the Planning Commission forum as a place for our meeting. And the Planning Commission went and sat in the audience. We had our forum, and then the Planning Commission came up here and sat at the board, okay? At that meeting, Chelsea O'Brien came up to the front of the room, who, runs the Clarkson Family Farm, and she asked Brent, what can we do to put more teeth in the ordinance, to put more protections in place? And Brent's answer to her, which is on TV, was, you should elect people who think like you. Well, that's what we did. We elected a new supervisor with a goal of preservation, with a goal of controlling growth, and doing better development. So that's what this reflects. This is a reflection of people, and the people that he's nominated all have planning experience. They're one of them's got 10 years, and the other one's got, I forget how many years. So we're not talking about putting just random people on here, okay? As far as Judy Tully goes, I'm sorry she didn't get a phone call, but I'm one of the reasons that Judy Tully got on the Planning Commission, because Pat Kittle asked me about her, and she had no background at all, and I said, Judy Tully's been to every meeting when I was the chairman since '03. For 10 years, she came to every meeting. I don't know why. She just was the only lady in the audience for 10 years, and she took notes and she asked questions. And when Pat asked who should be appointed, I told him she deserves a chance at it. I don't know she has no qualifications, but we have education she could get. And she was on there, and she's done a good job on there. The issue is not the quality of the people, and having planning experience doesn't mean that you're in line with the wish of the people. It just means you're qualified at getting stuff developed and getting stuff built. So what we're asking for, what I'm asking for is what the residents are asking for. And what you promised when you were elected was a change of attitude towards more preservation. That was the reason the Open Space Committee was created. So there would be another board trying to do preservation. Now, anyone can look across the street and say to themselves, could we have made that a better development? There's nobody with a straight face that is gonna say that couldn't have been a better design development with more protections, more community amenities, more things. Things have changed in the township since since I was removed from the Planning Commission, even when I was on the Planning Commission. That's why I was removed. For instance, we spent years and years doing transitional architecture in the township, meaning that if you took the Salvation Army building, it's very heavy commercial. Then you take this building, it has a residential roof and more colonial architecture. Then the building next door is a one-story doctor's office, which is transitional. Then it's residential. Well, this Planning Commission approved a 27-foot tall commercial retail space between that building and the residential home. Well, that goes completely against what we were trying to do for the 20 years that I was there. On the development across the street, which is a PUD. In order to qualify for a PUD, they have to give you community amenities to qualify for that right to develop under multiple zonings. Well, this is the first time in the history of the township that I can find where instead of the developer providing the community amenity, the Planning Commission had the retailer, Myers, provide the community amenity. And their 20,000 square foot patio is the community amenity. Well, that's never been done before, because what if the retailer goes out of business? What about the people who live in that neighborhood? Their community amenity would be eliminated due to the elimination of the retail space. So there's been a lot of changes. Most of you aren't familiar with it because it's not your background in planning, and I understand that. But I have a background in planning. I mean, I have a degree in it, but I've been trying to protect this township, to save its character, to save its landmarks, starting Preservation Clarkston, to save the homes in here. And the people want people on the Planning Commission that are more geared towards more preservation, open space, better buffers, bigger setbacks, and better quality developments. It's all about negotiation. And in my opinion, our planning department has done a less than adequate job of negotiating for us the best deal. When I was the chairman of the Planning Commission and we approved the Beaumont project at M15 and I-75 after McLaren was approved, they were only allowed to use 33% of their property and the rest had to remain open space. I felt like it was almost a taking of land because we hammered them so hard to minimize their impact on the community. And this development across the street's got 11% open space. And that open space was, they were trying to make the township pay for it and make it part of our Parks and Rec instead of the developer paying for it. So this isn't about who's qualified, it's about the mentality and the direction and where the township wants to go, and you need people on the board, and Brent said it the best, if you want change, then elect people to give it to you, and we did, and this is what he's bringing to us, the change. So, that's what I got to say about it.
I'd
Yes,
like to make a
Mr.
comment.
Scarborough, please.
Hi, Bill Scarborough, 5704 Nob Hill Circle. As you probably saw, I'm one of the candidates to be appointed. I'm not going to speak to that. If you want me to address that, why I want to be on it and what I can bring, I will do that. I'm going to speak to what I hear in the community. There's a lot of people in the community that don't like the way this township is being developed. And I get the impression there is also a lot of apathy. And it might be evidence of the lack of attendance tonight. They don't feel like they have a voice. And they don't like the Walden project across the street. But there's other things, personally from my experience, Planning Commission for 20 years, that I see that has been done here that I never would have supported if it was done in Washington Township. Congestion, parking problems, lack of setbacks, just, I think our community, whether it's the fault of the leadership of Mr. Savadant, I doubt it, or is it Mr. Carlisle, because your hired consultant does a lot to direct the flavor. I don't know, and I'm not going to worry about who's to blame for it. But I think our community, what I'm trying to tell you is I'm hearing a lot of people in our community who are upset, but they don't feel like the township board is listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Please. State your name and address.
Good evening, Joe Sucher, 5071 Hilltop Estates Drive. I'm going to not talk about myself at all, but I want to go with this thought here of listening to the community. And I'll give you an example, and it's not an example of what I would try and do here if I was appointed to the commission, but it's an example of what we did in Grosse Pointe Woods. And it mirrors this conversation here about listening to the people. The people there wanted a colonial theme in Grosse Pointe Woods, period. I wouldn't suggest that we want a colonial theme up here at all, but what we did was for years, and I was on the planning commission for 10 years there or so, a little bit more, we sifted every development, every storefront modernization through the lens of, is it going to make the colonial theme better? And did we want the colonial theme? Yes. Who wanted it? The residents wanted it. And they told us so, they told the city council so. And so that's what we did. Now here, of course, the colonial theme is, inappropriate, of course, but if we listen to the people and they have a direction that they like to go in, that's what everybody should be working for. It's not my view that counts any more than any other resident's view counts, but my view is that I work for the residents and that I should be doing collectively what the collectively thoughts are of the residents. And you listen to them, you talk to them, you put plans together, you present them, is this what you want? You develop. It doesn't take 30 days, it doesn't take 6 months, it takes years and years. But it's a direction that's set by the people who are your boss. The residents are your boss, and mine too, because I'm on some committees here. So that's my view. We listen, we develop, we sift things through, how people would like to see the community developed, and you work towards that end. And if you don't do that, then I don't think you're doing your job. And I'm not saying you're not doing your job, I'm just saying collectively, anybody that's running the city isn't doing their job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zucker. Anyone else that would like to speak up? Any Trustee Jim Tyler?
First and foremost, I want to thank Mr. Sabaton for being here and presenting his thoughts, as well as Mr. Sucher and our other Mr. Scarborough. I think it's important. I'm first and foremost disappointed. I did not know that, as a matter of courtesy, they were not informed. At the end of the day, I know that doesn't drive our decisions, but at the same time, I think professional courtesy is in order with the sophisticated township of our size and our stature. I also believe that, and as I stated in my interview, I think that this township is capable of, and overall has been demonstrating of striking a balance between maintaining rural character, but also accounting for the inevitable that development must happen in order for a community to remain vibrant. And I'm a little bit torn here because I see the two gentlemen that are here on paper are qualified individuals. And in fact, I've known Mr. Sucher for probably 8 or 9 years, and he actually reached out long before I was even in contention for this position and asked for my support, and I lent it to him. I also know Judy Tully quite well, and she's been a capable individual, and I thank her for her service, and to the point brought by others, it may be water under the bridge for her to even tender consideration in the future. I don't know, but I think it warrants perhaps some of us reaching out to her and extending some level of apology on that front. All that being said, my understanding of the Planning Commission, and before this vote tonight, I thought it was important to observe a Planning Commission meeting in action. And full disclosure, I have not been very involved or engaged with the Planning Commission, but I will echo that it is among, second to our finances, among the most important positions and committees within our form of government. So it's really important that we're thoughtful, we're deliberate, and we get it right. And that's weighing very heavily on me tonight. There's no question Mr. Sabaton's credentials speak for himself. I'm glad that he spoke. I've not had the opportunity to meet him or to get to know him, but I will say that I jumped on YouTube and I watched the entirety of a 2-hour and 45-minute special meeting with the owners of trying to expand Mel's Grill into some new concepts, and I thought he ran a great meeting. He's fair and objective, thoughtful, managed the meeting quite well. So I think there's a lot to tout on that in that regard. As a planning commission, maybe I'll kind of end my remarks with a question. Is it not the obligation of the planning commission to apply their decisions within the confines of the master plan? Again, it's not my area of expertise, not my field, but is it not their obligation to make their decisions within the confines? And so if something's appropriately zoned, be it a developer, an individual, small family, they come before the planning commission and ask for, absent of any variances, ask for the development of said parcel, is it not their obligation to build so long, or to grant that so long as it's within those confines. And if not, there's a process through which they can receive variances, et cetera. So I don't know that, regardless of who we appoint tonight, that, I mean, one thing I don't want, I'll say, is I don't want an activist planning commission. I want a planning commission that's gonna honor the letter of the law, that's going to honor the spirit and intent of our master plan, property owner, of their opportunities to develop within the confines of that master plan. So those are some of my thoughts. Again, concluding with the question, because we're talking people talking about philosophies and this and that, but at the end of the day, aren't we looking for competent people who can honor and apply the master plan in a way that is beneficial to our residents and keeps us out of the courts?
No, can I speak on that?
Sure.
That's,
Trustee Morocco.
you probably got 60% of it
Okay.
right on how it works.
Failing grade, but I'll take it.
I'd say C plus. So you're right. The master plan, everyone keeps referring like that's the Bible, let's say. Okay, but it's there's a lot of things in the master plan. You could put your emphasis on underlying zoning and what's allowed, which you're more talking about developing more individual parcels, where the issue with the township is more typically with large multi-use developments. That's where, or parcel assemblages where you're putting in big empty nester housing or big developments. So those are handled differently than a private thing like you're talking about. And when you get to those big developments, a lot of it is just negotiation. The master plan is heavily laden with preservation, greenways, character. If you don't put if that's not your primary emphasis, your emphasis on underlying zoning, conformity, districts, you can do both. You can be in compliance with the master plan and have the development across the street, or you could comply with the master plan and it would have been 200 feet off the road, completely surrounded by wood and not accessible from I-75. We had that. That was an option too. So both of them would comply, both would be legal, and both would resemble the master plan, bits and pieces of it. So that's why it's down to the people doing the negotiating with the mindset of preservation, or picking the safer, more rural, more pieces of the master plan and focusing on those. So you can do both, but when we do a development across the street that's a PUD, there are no ordinances that come into play. It's a negotiation from the day it starts, from the planning commission to the developer. The reason for that is because you've got multifamily, commercial, all mixed up, so you can't follow the rules. So when a developer comes in and he has to request a planned unit development, then he has to tell us what amenities he's giving us that would allow him to commingle all these different zonings into one cohesive property that's under one ownership. It's supposed to be under one management, the whole thing, when you do that, which is what it is over there. So, so like I said, we could have negotiated a buffer so we weren't exposed to the highway and still had the density that was in there or close to that density. We could have done what they would teach you in planning class, which is put a park in the center and make it a community gathering space and then build all around it and create walkability and all that. But we didn't. We put 7 acres of park inside the back of a private condo complex where I-75 stormwater drains into. That's the park we got. Could have been a 20-acre park in the center that was just absolutely amazing with gazebos and an amphitheater. But that's not what our planning commission negotiated or our consultants negotiated. They negotiated that development, which in 2020, when it came to the township, had a 17.6 acre park is what Silverman proposed, and we negotiated it down to 7 acres. So part of what you said is right, but the other part of it is it is up to the individuals that are sitting there and them to comply, but the scale can be tipped into much better, lower density. You know, people are complaining that we're not getting good quality development here and good quality builders coming here, and that's because good quality builders don't have houses that fit on a 50-foot wide lot. That's production track housing that fits on a 50-foot wide lot. When I was building houses in the township and all the different subdivisions, 80-foot was the smallest lot that we ever were able to come across. You know what I mean? So that's shrunk and deteriorated over the years to make the developer more money. What should be happening, and I'm not opposed to density, because I think that I've always said, and you can see it in a million meetings, as long as the township's not affected by it and seeing it, you can move it to the center and preserve the rural character and still have density. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be sprawled from one corner to the next. The fact that 6 residents were affected by that 70-acre development and we couldn't protect them, not 1 foot. The developer went over there and cut the branches off of their sides of the trees around that cul-de-sac over there is just disheartening. That us as a township could not protect 6 residents and give them a buffer on a 70-acre clear cut. Those are the items that the residents are discouraged about. We're giving density bonuses above that were allowed with nothing in return. And we're basically, we're the township to come in and get the most things. You know, in closing, what used to happen when I was building subdivisions in the township is the builder would come in, he'd buy a piece of land, he'd put in a beautiful subdivision, and he would build his homes in there, and he was proud. Now, developers come into the township, they put a land assembly, they beat us down for as much density as they can possibly get out of us, and then they pawn it off to the highest bidder. That's a different mentality of how business is done in the township. And so now, since that mentality's changing, there's no pride in the development because they're just selling it off and leaving the state and going down south, you know, or staying here and don't care. They don't care what it looks like. It's up to us to have the pride in the development. And this planning commission we have has not shown that at all, in my opinion. And it shows. It's very obvious to the residents that live here that we could do better, and we're not. This is the first step to doing better. Get some people in there that are going to be a little bit more tougher negotiators and demand better, and that's why I think you need to do this.
Okay. Treasurer Brown.
Just a couple things. My understanding, the development across the street has less density than they could have put in. So sitting here saying that developer got as much as he could is not really a true statement. They were gonna put apartments in there, and the people who were building the apartments backed out, and then they changed it to the townhouses. I would also suggest it's inappropriate for this board to tell our new residents that they bought something that's not good. Why would we do that? I disagree with my colleague next to me. I think good product is built in this township, and whether it's done by a big company or a small company, to sit here and just malign the other ones because they're not a custom builder, I think it's unfair to the developers, and it's unfair to the residents who are buying them. I envision this across the street, and I know you look at it and it looks terrible. We've been through this before. When the guy came to develop at Dixie and 75 to put in apartments, this place was packed, standing room only, demanding we not allow it. How dare us let them destroy this beautiful property by doing something they want to it, and they owned it. And that it was gonna end up being a trailer park. Literally said that from the audience. You're letting them put in a trailer park. That place, I don't hear any complaints about it. Those apartments are all rented out, and most people don't even know they're apartments. They think they're condos. And yet, in the height of going through the process of doing it, people think the worst. For me, I look across the street and I envision all the people who are buying homes there, knowing that they probably can buy their own grocery cart and walk to the store with their kids and grocery shop. I'm an optimist. I'd try to think of the best. And I don't know if it changes anyone's opinion, but I realize all the trees have been taken out in the back. And I will tell you that if you go back to the map from 50, 60, 70 years ago, This was all farmland. That was farmland. The only trees were 2 rows that ran between the fields. That was it. You can go look at the maps on Oakland County's website. So this old growth stuff isn't really true and very hard to maintain when you're trying to develop a piece of property, and you have to be fair to that. I will tell you that along 75, it looks worse because MDOT came in, and if you've driven on I-75, you know that from north way south, they cut down all kinds of stuff. And my understanding, and I'm sure the supervisor could confirm it, he met with MDOT, was their worry is that that debris comes loose and goes down and impacts the drainage for I-75 and could later cause flooding somewhere. So that's my understanding of why it happened. They're gonna put in 1,000 feet over there of 8-foot to 20-foot evergreens. I mean, they're gonna be huge trees. There's no way they're gonna build a nice neighborhood like this and not do their best to make it look good. And I think it's unfair to say it's terrible before they get done. But maybe that's the optimist in me, and you know, I think it's gonna be good. And I think the people who are buying those houses as fast as they're built felt that way. And so there is a desire for that, people that wanna live in this community. And think about the schools. I hope we get some more young families. We have an aging population here right now, and the schools are about 1,000 students underpopulated. That's from the schools. They could have 1,000 more students in this township. And if we don't have things that attract some younger families, we're not gonna end up buffering our aging. Because I'm aging. My mother passed away a couple months ago. I mean, we look all over, we have all these aging people. We've got to attract younger people, or we're gonna be in trouble with our schools. And our property values will go down at that point. I think that's an important thing. So I look at couples moving in over here and thinking they're gonna love it, and then they're gonna wanna raise their families here. That's my hope. That's all.
Thank you, Trustee Brown.
May I just make some
Sure.
final remarks? Thank you.
Trustee Jim.
I really think it's incumbent upon the board, whether it's the planning commission or any advisory body, to embrace the fact that the buck stops with us. And the PUD that was issued in 2020, I was not on the board. I believe the dynamic of the board was different individuals. And so I think the important thing here, and I'm not gonna argue that the two being presented, but also Mr. Sabanon, are all qualified individuals. I think first and foremost, we need to pick the most competent people. And I would say in general, any good advisory board is going to honor the spirit and what the board values, because at the end of the day, we are the direct link to the people. We are the ones that they elect and unelect to that end. And so I just want us to be thoughtful about that and acknowledge that we have the power to reject conditional, and correct me if I'm wrong, but to reject conditional things like a PUD. Again, out of my wheelhouse here, but that's my understanding.
Well,
Okay,
just
Trustee
for
Morocco.
clarity, the planning commission approves the PUD typically, I think then the board does. But that's just that we're going to start the process of negotiating. What the issue I've been having is that by the time the projects get through the planning department and Dick Carlisle, the consultants, and get to the planning commission, a lot of money has been spent. And that's one of the things that I've been trying to slow down, is to have meetings with these developers before money's spent. There's nobody sitting up here after hundreds of thousands of dollars of blueprints have been drawn is gonna say, scrap it, let's start over, this is a bad plan. That just doesn't happen. That's why the gatekeeper is so important, the front lines, the mentality, what you're gonna take. And then you give directive. In the old days, we used to have planning commission meetings with the developers coming in. We'd have meetings with them, pre-construction meetings, before anything was drawn. And say, we're not putting vinyl siding on commercial buildings. We're not, doing this. We're not, give them guidance of that. And that guidance, now whether it's from the employees or the consultants who live in Ann Arbor or whoever, they're not conveying what the residents want. They need someone else to do it for them because they're not doing it. And whether or not people move in that neighborhood or not does not delineate the fact that it could have been better. It could have been better. Always the argument's made, well, it could have been 400 apartments. Well, it isn't, so that's not really relevant. That's what the planning consultants always say when they're making arguments for density. Well, this could have been, well, that's not what they came here to buy, so I don't want to hear what it could have been. Let's talk about how good can we get it to be? How far can we push the developer before they walk away to get the best development we can get? And I'll tell you, I've been on the planning commission with all these planning commissioners. Ain't no pushing going back. It's all little, let's add a little brick, make the road a little bigger, there's no significant changes going on to anything. It's too late. So that's, I just want to say that we are the final word, but that's not right to the developer either. That you go through that whole process, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then have the board jump over the planning commission to put the brakes on things and make it better. It needs to all start from the beginning. That's the fair way for everyone to do it, So, and I've always said, we just need to do better. Everyone's fighting to, I don't know how you defend we can't do better, but there's defense going on up here that we can't do better. But I don't believe that. I think we can do better.
I have a quick question.
Question? Oh, sure. Trustee Nalamato.
I'd like to ask my colleagues on this board how many emails you've received from residents about how bad our developments have been. Because aside from Facebook, I have not got a single email directly to me about any of it over all these years. And my second question to my colleagues on this board, when they were coming up asking about this PUD and what was being built there, about how many people were in the audience against it? Did we have standing room only at that time? I don't recall that. Maybe
Sure.
about 20 people.
Sure.
So that's just my observation on the whole thing.
Thank you, Terry. Actually, I did have some emails coming since I got elected. And before that, Trustee Nalamato, I probably can give you more data about this. I have been knocking a lot of doors, talking face-to-face to people during the last summer, and I have been addressed directly to my face that they're not happy with what's going on in the township with some of the developments here. And some insatisfaction and all that. And then, as you know, I run with the platform of not keeping the status quo. I run with the platform of change, and you see what happened the last election. But also, when we have an event where I remember was people from a lot of people came. I don't remember what event it was, but it was people from the Planning Commission. A lot of people came and addressed that they want a less density and all that. I remember that as well, is when Trustee Morocco says that, Chairman Sadrin says that if we want to change, you need to change the people, elect different people. That was the meeting where it was a lot of people. It was not just 5 people, 10 people. The room was packed, and everybody asked for a change. I know, I understand. I do understand. Paul, you make a good argument. You guys make a good comment. And sorry to disagree with some of you guys, but I run with different platform. I run with the platform of change, not to keep the status quo. And I have to deliver my promise, and I'm man of my word, and I step with what I promised to my supporters and people. I do respect, though, you guys' opinion. I respect you as an individual. I respect the board and every single member. Yes, Trustee Ritchie.
I'm a little confused because the way you talk, it sounds like you're the only one that has the approval of the people. You have to remember, everybody on this board ran as a trustee and was elected by the people of the township. So,
Absolutely.
so to tell us that we're not in touch with the people in the township, it seems kind of weird because that's why you run for this board and get elected. So.
Okay.
And I guess the other thing I'm a little bit confused on is that we keep talking about making things better. Sam Morocco was on the planning commission for many years. The site across the street went through dozens of changes because of the meetings that we had, and different improvements were made multiple times to the site plan. And were all the changes exactly the way Sam wanted it? No, there was give and take on both sides. But in the end, both Sam and you, Jose, voted for that project. You voted multiple times yes for that project. So, I mean, you guys are now using that project across the street like some mantra that things are wrong. But multiple times you guys voted to approve it. So I think it's kind of weird that you're talking out of both sides of your mouth when you talk about that project, so.
Okay. I recall voting against some of the high-density projects, but okay. Thank you.
We can go back and
But,
look at the
can
vote.
I got the floor now.
All right.
I give you the time, but I can exchange too that when, in 2012, when Planning Commissioner Joanne McCleary and Kurt Carson asked for reappointment, Supervisor Kill never called in or telling anything, and you never said nothing about it. But now, because I'm in the administration, you bring it up, then I didn't call a couple people, make it like a phone call. It's a big deal when a lot of people are complaining about how the Planning Commission making decisions. To me, I'm basing my decision, my recommendation on what I hear from people, what people ask. Tonight, I'm not representing my opinion. I represent people's opinion and what people want to change. And it's fine, I mean, respectfully. Please, can you come up front? Yeah, you can speak. Come up front, please state your name and address.
My name is Joette Kuntz, and I live at 9740 Reese Road. I was asked to write about this development across the street back in 2019, and there was a meeting. I think there were 2 meetings at the Clarkston United Methodist Church, with probably 200 people there in our gathering room at the time. And I remember writing about that and what it would look like then. Every time I drive out of Costco, I look at the development next to Aldi's, and I come home, and this is what I see, the same development, almost the same. I think our planning process, from the consultant to the planning commission to the board, needs to be, and the employees here that are in the planning department, you all need to take a really good look at what's happening. Nobody likes that development. Yes, it might be affordable for young families, and maybe the density isn't what it was, but thank God, because those apartments were atrocious right over those houses. The whole planning of this community, I'm not going to be here in 10 years probably, but some of you are, and there's a whole lot of the public, and they have a job and they have a family, and they don't have time to always show up to this. You are our elected officials, and it's important. I've heard one elected official say, "Oh, that's not what I thought it would be." Well, you know, sometimes your job is finance, or sometimes your job is elections, but you are representing all of us, and you need to know what it really is going to be. Whether you ask somebody in another township or you listen to Sam, one way or the other, you know, you need to become planners yourself, because that's your job. You are going to vote on it. And probably he's right, but the whole spectrum of planning needs to be much better, I think, in Independence Township. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, of course. Please state your name and address.
Carla Allen, 7761 Parkrest Circle. Thank you all for sharing your opinions. It's been helpful. This is all new to me, this local government and planning commissions. I just want to say simply that I'm not sure when we're looking at these new developments, I'm speaking specifically behind CVS, the piece of at Sashabaw and Clarkston. There's a big piece of property there that's owned by one family, and it was zoned or is zoned suburban residential. So to be very similar to my subdivision, which is Clarkston Ridge, so an acre, acre and a half per home. My understanding is that that's been socialized a bit as changing. So I just want to share that. I want to understand when it's too late to participate with the Planning Commission and to know about it and to, voice our opinion, because often it is too late. And we've talked about this at a previous meeting, like, where were you? So I just want to make sure I don't miss that opportunity and understand what that looks like moving forward.
Okay.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right, thanks. Please, state your name and address.
I'm Linda Ronan Brown, and I live at 5716 Nob Hill Circle. You would know that as the newer Hills of Pine Knob development just across the road. I've lived in Clarkston since 1996. I was very fortunate to be one of those people who bought a home from one of the early builders that built one home at a time, and it was very well built. I bought my condominium, and it was not inexpensive, and I thought that the Planning Commission would make sure that it was a good development. Our streets are too narrow. We cannot park. We cannot even have a policy of saying park on one side of the street, because we have in our whole development 21 or 27 parking spaces. It's ridiculous. I mean, those homes are like in $700,000 homes. And so I agree, there needs to be a change. I mean, I think as a resident, when I bought that, I assumed that the Planning Commission and the other people would be doing their job. There are homes in there that the trusses don't meet. They were not inspected correctly. And then I hear that you might let the same developer develop more land. Please think twice. Please make sure that things are done the way they should be. We have older people living in that development. We have at times had to worry about an emergency vehicle getting down the street because we have people parked on both sides. We have repair people coming in. We should not have, after the fact. You're saying, well, these people must like these because they're moving in. I put my money down in that condo long before it was actually built. So, I agree that we need a change. Please. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to address to the board? Anyone in the audience? Anyone online would like to address to the board? Anyone? Okay. Arnold? Ray? Are you guys, you need to mute the, if you'd like to say a few words, you need to mute the.
Hello?
Okay, yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, this is Ray Llewellyn, and I just want to say, first and foremost, unfortunately, we're not in Independence Township tonight. But I just want to say, first of all, in reference to the property across from the Township Hall, MDOT did not NOT cut one tree from M15 to Sashawa. And I would be happy to drive back to Michigan tomorrow and show anyone. I have driven up and down there several times. My husband, Arnie Llewellyn, talked directly to MDOT. They went out there and sent out a person literally to look. So that information is false. False. Secondly, as a resident of Independence Township and a taxpayer and a voter watching this meeting from a distance, it's absolutely disgusting to see. You know, I've watched various boards through the time in the township, but to see board members taking knives out at each other, it's just ridiculous. I would think work together. And my final thing is listen to the residents. You know, do we need to start, you know, getting the school buses out and toting the people to the township hall? Oh, no, you can't come in because we have COVID going. So we have to do Zoom. Okay, now you can come in. People have voiced their feelings and their thoughts to numerous people. And maybe not was, you know, connected to a certain board member. So, oh, I didn't know that anybody was interested or anybody felt that way. The voices have been said loud and clear. And, you know, part of it is when Jose ran, he ran on the platform of change. Thank you very much. And that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Ray. Aaron, you would like to say a few words? Or?
Yeah, am I unmuted?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to, really support the fact that we need some change, and the change is being proposed, and we really need the board members to stand up and support what the residents are asking for. You make it very difficult for residents to bring anything in front of the board, and the few of us that take the time, I guess, have to speak for all the others that don't. We talk to lots of people. They all see things pretty much the way we see them. They don't all have time to send emails or to come to these meetings to not be listened to. I mean, it's not unusual at all to come spend a lot of time, present your case to the board, and the board totally ignores what you have to say. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Jim?
Oh, Trustee Morocco shared a piece of information I thought it was beneficial to me, and I think it'd be beneficial for anyone listening, that there are all appointments come through you, and there's no opportunity for other board members to be able to propose otherwise, correct?
That's correct.
So
yes.
tonight is an up or down vote on those individuals.
Correct.
And if board members opt to see a change of the slate, if you will, then that would have to come through a no vote. Is that my understanding? Okay.
Yes. Yes, Treasurer Brown.
I know MDOT came out to meet with you, that you reached out to them about the tree cutting. Do you want to make a comment on their conversation with you?
No, I won't make any comments now.
You don't want. You met with MDOT, and they told you they cut trees down, but you're not going to say that now? Okay, no problem.
All right.
They were here in the building. I know you had a meeting with them, so.
Anyone else? Okay. Somebody would like to make a motion?
Well, I just want to, I do, but I
Okay.
want to say something real quick.
Sure.
The one power that the supervisor gets is this. He can't come in and erase people if their term's not up. He can't come in and change the direction of the township if people are on the board. The only real power the supervisor has is the appointments to the board that give direction and recommendations. And that's why he's the only one making the recommendation. So you can put up a fight and say, oh, we're doing the best job ever, I'm sticking with who's there, but they're not on the agenda, and they're not an option to get reappointed tonight, and probably never will be. So when we deny two guys with 10 to 20 years who are the candidates from doing it, he's going to have to bring less qualified people back over and over and over until the board breaks down and fills the vacant seats on the planning commission. That's where we're at with this tonight. So It's he gets the right to do this, and there's two people with over a decade experience apiece, and they're the best two candidates with the most experience of the 10 people that were nominated. And if we blow that, then we're going to be going down to the next row of people with less experience, just because of the pushback against keeping the existing planning commission. I think that's not the best, not in the best, service of the residents to play this game and then lose the opportunity on two more than qualified people. So I'm going to make a motion to appoint Joe Sucher as recommended by the Township Supervisor of the Planning Commission for a 3-year term scheduled to expire on December 31st, 2026.
I'd like a roll call vote.
Great.
Okay. I need a second for Joe Sucher. Somebody would like to second Joe Sucher.
I'll second Joe.
Okay. Trustee Jim Tayo, second. Joe Sucher. We can start the roll call, please.
1 second. Treasurer Brown,
No?
Trustee Morocco,
Yes.
Trustee Alamothu,
No.
Trustee Ritchie,
No.
Trustee Tedder,
Yes.
Supervisor Aliaga,
Yes.
Clerk Newbeck, no. Motion failed.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to appoint William Scarborough as recommended by the Township Supervisor to the Planning Commission for a 3-year term scheduled to expire on December 31st, 2026.
I need a second. Okay, I will second William Scarborough.
I'd like a roll call.
Who seconded? You did?
Yeah, I did.
Trustee Morocco,
Yes.
Trustee Alamothu,
No.
Trustee Ritchie,
No.
Trustee Tedder,
No.
Supervisor Aliaga,
Yes.
Clerk Newbeck, no. Treasurer Brown,
No.
motion failed.
Okay.
I'll move to reappoint James Sharrell to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a 3-year term scheduled to expire on December 31st, 2026.
1 second, let me catch up, please.
Second.
Okay.
Trustee Tedder, second?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you gonna ask for?
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be I guess a simple majority then. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Move to reappoint Ken Zurich to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a 3-year term scheduled to expire on December 31st, 2026.
Second?
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Move to reappoint Forrest Milzo as recommended by the Township Supervisor to the DDA for a 1-year term scheduled to expire on December 31st, 2024.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Move
Next.
to reappoint Kendall Petzold as recommended by the Township Supervisor to the DDA for a 1-year term scheduled to expire on December 31st, 2024.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Move to reappoint Gerald Fisher as recommended by Township Supervisor to the ROSAC, which is the Residential Open Space Advisory Committee, for a 3-year term scheduled to expire on December 31st, 2026.
I have a procedural question.
Mhm.
Have we gotten the bylaws?
No, we have not.
So
Not been
I-
approved.
I guess I want to get a legal opinion. The original motion to create this committee indicated they would bring back the people they wanted appointed to the Residential Open Space Committee along with bylaws. The board's never seen bylaws or approved them, and I think that needs to happen. And so we're reappointing people to a committee that's not legally formed, I don't think.
Joe, And,
Well, I'd like a legal opinion.
Legal
I
opinion,
just want to make
okay.
sure we don't do things wrong.
sure.
Good evening, Dan Kelly, Township Attorney. So I've not seen bylaws, to your point, and the bylaws would control the appointment and or the selection of board members. So
They
that's the
are,
best I can do.
Dan, they are submitted.
Meaning submitted what?
The minutes have been submitted for approval, we just couldn't get them on the agenda for tonight.
Oh, I see.
And they've been done, they've been sent through Dick, they've been ratified, they've been gone through, they've been approved by our board unanimously. The minutes have been confirmed for the approval of that, and all of that documentation has been submitted to the township. It just didn't make the cut for today, so it is an active board with all of that stuff. And the slowdown was, we had our minutes done, we had Jerry review them pro bono to try to save some money. Then it came, pushback came that, no, we gotta pay Dick Carlisle to also review them. So that's why they haven't been approved yet. Then Dick did it, then we agreed on them, we voted unanimously, and they were submitted to the township today. The chairman of the ROA, Residential Open Space Committee, is right there.
When you say they, you mean this board approved the bylaws?
No, the
Subcommittee.
The subcommittee approved their own bylaws after Dick, made his changes, and then we voted last Wednesday to approve approve the bylaws and submit them to the township board.
So the only thing I would say is, okay, I have not been involved in that bylaw process. If the board has not approved the bylaws, they quote, are not formalized or approved by the board. And bylaws would typically cover, in this type of a subcommittee that's not controlled by an enabling act or a state law or ordinance, the bylaws would control how board members are appointed, selected, and voted upon. Now, my guess is it's going to be boilerplate language, haven't seen the bylaws, but to Treasurer Brown's point, until we approve those bylaws, we really don't know how the appointment of those members should occur consistent with bylaws. We don't have a guideline for that.
Well, that's what Dick provided, was to make
I
it the
know,
same
but-
as every other board. So what are you
Hold
saying,
on.
we gotta wait till
I would
January?
wait. I would wait. If there's an objection, I would wait.
And then those people are not on the January,
I'm not sure how the meetings line up with this board's next meeting. I think it's in January.
what's the date?
January 9th.
9th. So I don't know if that meeting's before or after that, but it could theoretically be done.
It's before. The township board meeting is before that.
Okay, so we could approve the appointments and the bylaws at that meeting, before the Open Space Residential Committee. And I'm not quite sure whether, apparently there was a motion to have that done, is that right, Treasurer? Paul?
Yeah, the original motion was to have nominations brought back along with the bylaws, and of course, we voted on people already, we just missed that. And I just think it's important not to have that come up later, that we didn't have it done, so.
Okay. So it's a little technical, but it's accurate. It's accurate. You should have the bylaws approved, because that will control how the members are appointed to the board. If I had some other law, ordinance, or state law I could refer to, but for this type of a committee, we don't.
You don't wanna go look for one right now?
Yeah. Okay, then I have a quick question, since I just want to clear, so I didn't get clear. So before any issue, board members can disclose their vote, right? We can tell openly how we're gonna be
Yeah,
voting.
in an open meeting.
In our open
Absolutely.
meeting. Okay,
Yeah,
Good.
particularly when you're discussing the topic, you
okay,
can make a statement that I intend to vote no, or I intend to vote yes.
okay,
Absolutely.
okay.
Okay?
Sure, thank you.
Yeah.
Joe, you have a question? Okay.
Well, since they won't appoint, we can't get the votes for anybody on the planning commission, we still have a quorum, so we can just operate as a 5-member board, right? Till
Yes.
eventually we get the votes for somebody.
Yes. Yes. And the only correction I would make is that the supervisor absolutely has the right to make the appointment and the board doesn't. But, people that have been turned down in the past could potentially be brought back. So that's the only correction from what I heard with regard to what you said. Whether they would be brought
Okay, so the same
would
people
be up
could
to
be
the
brought, the
supervisor.
same people could be brought back?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Sucher, you raised your hand about the disappointment, so please come up front.
Joe Sucher again, 5071 Hilltop State. the bylaws don't really address how people are appointed to that board.
They don't.
They don't, no. I mean, they just say the number of people, and actually, that's about all they do say. And that there's 3 members, one is a at-large member, one is on the board here, and one is on the planning commission. And it addresses that, but it doesn't address how you get on ROAC at all. It just doesn't. And people were appointed to that board long before we had bylaws. I mean,
Yeah,
it's been a very strange
We
process.
messed up.
Okay,
Okay,
We messed up.
okay.
all right.
Dan,
Excuse
don't we,
me, all right. You
well, I
want-
just want to clear on the same point. Aren't we, when the township board appointed all of us on the Residential Open Space Advisory Committee, and then we're tasked to create the bylaws because it was a brand-new committee, what, why is that different than the reappointment, in the process of getting the brand-new committee going? Because it wasn't an issue when we started. We had no bylaws at that point.
So that happens in almost every subcommittee that's created. You appoint the initial members, and their first task is to prepare the bylaws on how they'll operate moving forward, and then those bylaws are brought back to the township board for approval. And that's how they operate moving forward. So with respect to the bylaws, my personal opinion, and I don't know who reviewed these, certainly Jerry Fisher's definitely qualified to put
And
bylaws together, and Dick, obviously. I haven't reviewed them. The bylaws should probably address how that board, the terms, as well as when the appointments occur. For example, the idea that the supervisor makes the appointment and the board approves is certainly the case for the planning commission, absolutely, as well as the ZBA. It's not necessarily the case for subcommittees. There's a lot more flexibility on how the board sets up how they want the appointments to occur. Could just be by a motion and a majority vote, very similar to how you pick a trustee. But that should be contained in some kind of guidance or document that the board approves so that we know moving forward how those appointments occur.
Okay, so why, I don't know whose idea it was to have Dick review them instead of you review them. So now Dick's a consultant, you're a lawyer. I don't know how he got involved, but now should we have you review them so that we get
That's
it
up to
right
the
before
board.
the next meeting? I mean, it seems, because we don't wanna, we're getting bounced around dragging this thing on,
Yeah, I mean, that's up to the
Just real
board.
quick.
I mean, Dick is
Hold on,
definitely
let's
qualified to
finish.
review them.
All right, all right, Treasurer Brown.
The board passed a motion approving Dick Carlisle fees to do the review. This board passed a motion indicating Dick Carlisle was supposed to get that reviewed, the bylaws. It was in the motion. We budgeted $5,000 for it and I think you probably recall now because you were saying you wanted that $5,000 for something else. You wanted to keep it in the budget and use it for something else. The board wanted Dick to do that. That was the motion.
Okay, I don't remember that. I know what the $5,000 we asked for was for.
It was for Dick Carlisle. It specifically named him.
No, I get that, but we wanted the money to have him review things that we were going to recommend. And me and Dick talked about it, and I don't have the letter with me, but he had outlined when we first started talking about it, you should throw $5,000 in there for me, so when you start reviewing ordinances, or if you're gonna do something, that there'll be money in there to participate. He was also, for that $5,000, was going to bring us information of what other communities had done, so we weren't reinventing the wheel. We knew that we were on a shoestring budget, so because we had a municipal attorney on our board willing to do all this for free, we used Jerry. Then we got our hands slapped because we weren't going through Dick because we didn't want to waste the $5,000. We were trying to save it for when we needed a consultant to do it, not a lawyer to do it.
Right.
So that's where we got, and we haven't had a whole lot of guidance from anybody at the township setting this thing up. We've been flying by the seat of our pants and then being reprimanded for not doing it right, but we're almost there. So if it's got to wait till next meeting, that's fine, but if there's anything that you brought up tonight that we need to address, I would suggest the secretary and the chairman of our board, do some quick, look at it with you and
Well, the
button
only
this
thing
thing
that
up.
I've said is I've not looked at the bylaws, so I don't know what they say.
Okay.
Certainly, Jerry Fisher, 40 years in municipal law, and Dick Carlisle, the same in planning, can put together bylaws. I suspect the bylaws are fine. That's not what the issue is in front of the board tonight. It's whether they've been adopted by the board. And if they've been adopted by the board, then you have a functioning subcommittee. There's been an objection made that we should adopt those bylaws to begin with, and so my recommendation, particularly how the meetings line up, let's get the bylaws in front of the board and get them adopted first.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. So we're not taking action on this right tonight, so, all right, we don't have a, what?
I just had a quick question.
Yeah.
Which meeting I was surprised that we didn't review the 2024 meeting schedule. Is that?
We
It's
did
not-
that, I think, in October.
We did it in October?
I
All right, I
believe so.
missed it.
October,
Yeah.
November or something, yeah.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Okay,
Yeah, I didn't, I
sure.
thought it would be on this meeting.
It's
Okay.
on the website, and I can get you a copy. if you
Okay, I'll
want.
get it. No, all right, thank you. I
Okay.
just thought it was at this meeting.
All right, we're not taking action tonight. We don't have a closed session or budget session, so communication and future agenda item report. Number one, we have a fiscal 2023 actual to the budget, comments for a period ending November 30, 2023. And Oakland County Sheriff Department, November 2023. Building Department, November 2023. And Information Technology Oversight Committee, October 10, 2023. Board member comments.
I just have one. What is the procedure moving forward to look at that ordinance and prosecution lawyer thing? Who's on that project? I don't know what department it's under.
It's under me, so
Okay.
I will follow with you, okay?
Well, not with me.
Yeah,
I
with
just,
her,
I
yeah,
think we
yeah.
want
Okay.
to put a
Right.
cap on this
Right.
thing to
Yeah, we'll-
save 60
yeah.
grand next year.
I think what you're
Yeah.
asking for is that it comes back as an agenda item to be reviewed, is what you're saying. Is that what you're
I
trying to
think
say,
that
sir?
we should, so whether or not we want to ask the current attorney did not bid a inclusive bid, and I think we should give him the opportunity to do that. Because it sounds like, even talking to Rick, that's the way we should go on that stuff, is get, not to exceed, because that cost us a lot of money this year, missing that detail. So I don't, if it goes on the,
Yeah.
however that
Yeah,
works, I don't
no.
know. I just wanted to slip through the cracks.
We would have to discuss it. I believe the bid was awarded, I think, for a 3-year term. So either,
But it does say it can be terminated at any time by us, for any reason.
not at any time, but I think there's a time frame.
Okay, I thought that
Probably
it-
a 30-day or,
well, and I could be wrong, but the way I read it, was that he had to give us notice.
Getting a little
Right.
deep into some
Right.
things that aren't on
Yeah.
the agenda here, maybe?
Yeah, we'll talk, okay, hold on.
I don't disagree
Okay.
with you, but we're supposed to
Okay.
follow
Yeah, well,
rules, that's all.
Yeah, I'll follow up with you guys, okay?
Okay.
Give me this week.
Fine.
All right, so. Okay, well, I want to wish everybody, oh, excuse me? No, because it's in the end, it's board member comments, I'm sorry. So I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, everyone, our local residents, and I think I need a motion to adjourn.
I was gonna make a comment.
Okay,
I would love to go on Facebook tomorrow and not be disparaged by anybody just because I have a different opinion. I don't know that I'm gonna have benefit from that because it just happens far too much. You know, I think we should not do that. We should make our arguments here at this table and we make our votes. To go outside of that on social media, I just think it's a destruction to our country, the way people are using social media to attack people. I think it's unfair, and I won't respond. I just won't do it, because what's the point? It's people who aren't there. You can't have a reasonable conversation with people, and so I wish that wasn't happening. Merry Christmas. Especially with Christmas. I won't go on Facebook until after Christmas, because it bothers me when people say bad stuff about me. Me, I'm wrong a lot.
all right.
You don't have to go on the.
Yeah, all right. All right, well, thank you. Jim?
No, I
anything?
just likewise want to wish
Okay.
everyone a Merry
Merry
Christmas,
Christmas,
Happy New
okay.
Year, and we'll see everyone next year.
Okay, well.
I'll ditto that and move
all
to
right.
adjourn.
Second. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? All right.
We're adjourned.